Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the webinar series here hosted at the Center for Professional Selling at Ball State University. My name is Deva Rangarajan. I am the director of the Sales Center. And today it is my absolute privilege to have three sales researchers / educators from three different countries. These are three different countries from where they're from, but does not stop them from actually go out and spread their knowledge to students from across many parts of Europe and the world as well. So let me introduce you to, I'm going to begin with my left at the top. I'm going to have Marina Prem from
Hello.
Vienna, from Austria. Then I
Thank
have,
you.
and I have Pia Hautamaki from Finland.
Hello.
And then we have Maria, who is from France / Greece / Canada now. So essentially, we have, again, three wonderful professors. Thank you all for taking time on this wonderful day to share your insights.
Absolutely.
Indeed. So let me begin. We have so much ground to cover. So I'm going to begin with...
Thank you, Deva.
Thanks. Thank you, Maria. So I'm going to begin with Marina at the top. So tell us a little bit more about what is happening in the world of sales as you see in your local market.
In our local market, we can see that there is a big growing demand of young business professionals being having an expertise in sales excellence. So the industry shows a big demand for business professionals who are able to implement the sales tools. So I did an expert interviews, and I asked employers and sales managers of Austria, what is the demand of our students, right? What are the students or the graduates missing, and what should they bring along as soon as they graduate and as soon as they apply for jobs? And the main aspects they told us was, first of all, social skills. So they should be able to bring along some suitable body language, some open-mindedness, empathy, being able to do small talk, to have the question techniques, and also to close the sale and give a positive ambience. And the second thing was the key facts. I mean the hard facts. You know, they should know the tools and how to lead a sales conversation and how to be able to build strategies and to do a customer co-creation. And I remember, Deva, you have been invited to our university to speak about customer value creation, and this is exactly what the practitioners and the industry requires from the graduates, from the professional salespeople.
Indeed. Absolutely. And this is interesting. So essentially, Maria and also Pia, from what we heard from Marina, is this also something that you hear from the audiences that you are used to? I'll probably go with Pia first and Maria. Pia.
Yes. There are many similarities also in Finland, and especially if I think about our students and if I think about the companies. So in Finland, we are still on that phase that we are still selling the products. And you know, the problem is especially how to sell these really, you know, demanding bigger solutions to the customers. And that is really big problem today in the companies, because they are just, you know, trying to get the meetings, to have the meetings and sell the products. And they have not understood about that situation, that there's the, you know, the transactional sales process. And additionally, there is this more complex value creative sales process. And, you know, companies at the moment, they are wasting a lot of time, their customers' time, and also their own time, of course.
Indeed.
And this is the need on the company side also, to get these talented young students to solve this problem.
And how about you, Maria?
So we are mostly on this, I think, on this value co-creating part.
Indeed, right? Indeed.
Yes.
And Maria, from your side?
I would also mention the two different perspectives, the industrial and the academic one. And speaking of the students, it's true that as the Canadian economy is growing, there is a big need for salespeople and for both B2B and B2C specializations or sectors. And what it is impressive is that, Canada is following the American trends quite a lot, right? They are neighbor countries. So there are a lot of Canadian companies fail to find the talents, as Pia has mentioned. And this is also impressive because if you see the stats from the school, the majority of our bachelor students will end up in a sales position as an entry level, right? And even though the majority doesn't even choose the marketing concentration, and they will probably prefer finance or accounting, even if they choose these two specializations, they will most likely end up in a sales position. So there is, of course, a growing need from the schools to focus and invest on the sales education, and of course for the industries to find the right talents to fill these positions.
Great. So now I'm going to actually, there are two, I think Maria, you hit on it as well, is there's the academics, there's also an academic side, which I want to touch back a little bit later on, because I want to talk a little bit more about what, one of the things that Pia said, which also was what Marina said as well, is this concept of you needing talents. And Marina said, Pia said, you also said, is that it's so hard to find the talents, right? So now when they do find the talents, to what extent do you think that the companies out here are also prepared to onboard the talents? Because it's one thing to complain or say that we don't have access to talents, but to what extent do you think, based on your interactions with these companies, that are they ready and prepared and have the capabilities to take on these young talents, onboard them quickly and make them productive? So I'm going to begin with Pia on this one.
Yeah, this is really important topic, and I see actually that this has been my concern, because I think that the companies, they do not know what is sales today, and that is the first problem, that they don't even know what they can get. And often these young talents who are really talented, and they have been studying, and they have the latest technological tools and talent to use these digital tools. So these companies, they don't have these tools, for example, to do sales nowadays, especially on the transactional sales. And they get frustrated, and they all the time change the jobs. So there's a lot of problems on that side. And they do not get that kind of places that they should get. So they are starting somewhere. So I think there are big problems in their onboarding process in the companies.
Indeed. Marina, what do you find? Do you find this also happening in Austria as well?
Absolutely. I recently attended a workshop. It was from the industry field, a practitioner conference. One of the topics of the workshops was, there were parallel sessions, and one of the topics was, how can we recruit the high potentials, and how can we keep them? And the interesting red line of the discussion was that they came to the conclusion, we are not even prepared for the youngsters, for the millennials. They think differently. There was a manager from McDonald's, and she said, it has never happened before to me that a graduate got a job from my end. I called the person, I said, you got a job? And the graduate said, oh, well, I want to do a world travel. So if the job is available in 3 months, I will be thankful to have it. And she said, it's a marketing management job at McDonald's. So it's not like you don't find it every day on the street, right? And the person said, no, thank you. For now, no, thank you. I have my priorities. And she said, we have to change our perspectives. We have this talent is real, and we are not prepared for it. And there was another lady, she's one of the famous recruiting, she runs a recruiting agency, and she says she's often permanently in a fight with the big groups and companies, because she tells them, you have to apply for, you have to promote your job to a graduate, right? To the millennials. And the ones who don't have nice fancy videos, they might not even be considered for a graduate. right?
Indeed.
So a job, especially in sales, should be flexible and very creative, and it should have a lot of different elements, so it's attractive for a person, for a young person that is in sales. And when a young sales professional wants to be in digital sales and the company does not even use digital technologies to promote the sales job, then there is a big gap. So this is what we have to face here in Austria as well.
Indeed. And Maria, what are your opinions? What are your thoughts on this from your experience?
As I mentioned, also this is quite an issue in Canada as well. And I got this image from the Canadian Professional Sales Association. And as I told you before, the majority of the companies in Canada fail to find the right talent. Right, okay, but we bear some responsibility as well, the schools. Okay, I mean, I know in United States, a lot of universities, they have sales institutes. In Canada, there is only one school in Quebec, in the francophone part of Canada, regarding and educating students in terms of sales and personal selling. And there is only one leadership center in Toronto, in a school in Toronto. So by default, I mean, it's very hard for the companies to find sales educated students. Okay. On the other side, there are also the companies that they don't really know what they're looking for exactly. There are a lot of startups in at least in the area that I live in Canada, and they grow and they emerge now, and they don't know the exact capabilities that they are looking, and that they would like to emphasize from the people that they will work in sales. And most of the times, people are they ask from the people to manage selling tasks, marketing tasks, or even other tasks that are not exactly related to the selling process. So I think that's the biggest problem in Canada. The role of salespeople is not concrete, first of all, and second of all, that people do not get the proper universal, at least. You have to in the arena.
So what I'm hearing from all of you is
from the experience, yes.
Sorry for it. So what I'm hearing is the fact that, well, you know what? Let's forget about onboarding your people. That we don't even know where we're going to find the right kind of people. We are not even succeeding in recruiting the people. And if I'm not even sure about how I want to recruit the people, what are the odds that I might have the right kind of onboarding processes in place to make them successful as well? So essentially, that I think it's very, very interesting from that viewpoint. And it's interesting, Maria, that you talk about this. And so I'm going to begin my next question with Maria, and then again I'm going to go around this time. Is Maria, you said there's a lot of startups, right? And a lot of these startups, and I'm sure that in Europe, in Finland especially, that you're going to have a lot more of the tech startups as well, which have a bunch of very, very smart people who come up with these great ideas, but then very quickly realize that, hey, they have to use the dirty S word. They have to have salespeople. And essentially, to what extent do you think that a lot of these people are now aware of things like using inside salespeople? That is actually people picking up the phone and calling, use of new technologies to help. To what extent do you think, from what you've at least heard, are these companies even thinking about all this, and you know what, and making sure that they're recruiting the right people, but they also are aware of the latest trends happening as well? I'm talking from a company perspective.
Yeah, where I live in Canada, there is a big pool of startups, of tech startups. The area is considered the Silicon Valley of Canada. Yeah. And from the stats I got from the commercial chamber in the area, there are 1,200 tech startups. Yeah. And it's true that they start with some kind of inside sales, because apparently this is the cheap and easy way, right, to get into the market and to get their products in the market. There are also a lot of companies that they don't have a specific product in the market. They are working on it, like the R&D is is working toward this direction. So they hire few people to do this inside cold calling to potential customers, and most of the times work with the customers to customize the future product that they will put into the market. And of course, eventually, as they grow or as they establish their name in the market, they also hire some field sales to run and travel and do the other part of the dirty job, as you said. So yes, of course, inside sales is the easy, cheap way to start, especially for these small companies. That and also something important. Most of the times, there are also even the CEOs or the founders that they do this job in this particular industry. Mm-hmm. So so they do the sales and they do the inside sales and all the related roles. Yeah.
Pia, let me ask you now this. So to what extent do you think in Finland that, I know that Finland has at least a good experience with at least universities trying to bring a lot more sales education, not necessarily universities, but more the applied universities that have actually had a more longer history of trying to provide sales education. To what extent do you think that the demands of the new business models, right, moving towards SaaS models or subscription as a service, subscription-based services models, to what extent do you think that the skills necessary in terms of inside sales, terms like SDRs, sales development reps, BDRs, account executives, to what extent do you think that the universities are playing a role in even bringing that kind of education and training into the classroom?
And are you now talking about the universities, or are you talking about University of Applied Sciences?
I'm only talking because I know at least for a lot, at least in Europe, at least, sales is still seen as something that you do not want in the universities. It's still seen as something in the applied university. So I'm only going to talk about the education space as is. I'm assuming that a company does not really care for sales talent where they get them as long as they're good ones. Right?
Yes.
So assuming that they're going to turn to you for sales, all the applied universities. Do you think that Finland is doing a good job in trying to bring this kind of knowledge into the workplace, or is it something that you're working on? Because it's perfectly fine, because I can tell you from my experience, there are very few schools in the United States that are looking at training their people on these new kind of roles. Even though industry, not just in the SaaS space, but in almost every other space, is moving towards a point where they say, we are not going to put any person in front of a customer till they've actually done experience in picking up the phone and calling. So, which means that we are looking into ways by which we bring it into the classroom. So I'm curious to see Finland, which in my head has always been cutting edge in terms of technology, entrepreneurship, and bringing sales knowledge, at least in the European space. To what extent do you think that applied sciences and applied science universities are prepared for bringing this kind of knowledge into the classroom?
Of course, I need to say that we are trying, really doing our best on that. And, at the moment, so we are really focusing on these new technologies, and I'm running a project called Robins, in which we are focusing to these digital tools and to the customer's path, and we are focused on B2B sales. But of course, we have also now in our project, so we have these SaaS companies, and we are also researching this transactional sales process and what is really how to bring the value for the customers and so on. But if I think about the sales education, and I think we are really doing a good work in Finland, because there are already 7 universities and universities of applied sciences who have the sales bachelor's degree on sales, and also we have now 3 universities and universities of applied sciences who have the master level program on international sales and sales management. And of course, the modern way to lead the sales is today, the thing what we are doing, and we are using different kind of modern technologies also in in our courses and so on. So we are trying to do our best on that. But I would go back to the, to the mindset and about the appreciation on sales. If we go, for example, to the startups and to the smaller companies, established companies in Finland. So often there is the model that the entrepreneurs and the founders themselves, those are the people who are doing the sales.
Yeah.
And after, they have noticed that they really need to grow and for example, start their international sales. So they realize that they need to have this really talented salesperson. And that is often the problem because they are not able, to define that, what kind of salesperson they need, that they are like trying to recruit similar, salespersons to the SaaS company and to the totally different kind of company. So that is also really difficult to me when I'm planning our curriculums and what we are teaching, because truly we are there that we don't know, what is the principles of sales process and how to create value for the customers.
Indeed.
And what is the role of marketing today in the sales process. And there are so many question marks that you just need to do decisions, and these are often those company cases that we always bring to the classrooms, that we are all the time solving different kind of company cases, and those are the the ways that students are able to understand that they are totally different kind of ways to do sales based on the companies what they are selling.
Indeed.
And of course, if we are talking about a startup or established or a enterprise, so there are so many different kind of sale processes.
Indeed, absolutely. And I'm going to slightly reword that question to Marina right now is, if I were to ask you, are you even thinking about getting your students to pick up the phone and do cold calls? You know what I mean? Send out emails. How do you word your emails to even get that first appointment? Is this something that you're beginning to teach in the classroom? Because I know for a fact that we are seeing this coming into the classroom slowly but slowly. Some universities in the US are more advanced than the others, because the tendency is still to train our students for face-to-face selling.
Yeah.
But increasingly, we find that we need to train our students even for far more before that. And in the SaaS space, it's very, very important. So to what extent do you think that I'm specifically asking from your perspective, from your experience in Austria?
So in Austria, as you mentioned before, the sales topic was not taught at university. So it's more a topic or a subject of universities of applied sciences. Doing a competitors analysis, I can see that there are more and more bachelor's degrees growing in Austria. Also some distance learning programs. And we have 3 pure sales management masters in Austria and 1 marketing and sales master. This is one of our products. It's a combination of marketing and sales management. So the different universities and universities of applied science try to differentiate. And my university is more focusing on the B2B sales and B2B field. So we touch the topic of transactional selling as well. And we also have a course where the sales negotiations are simulated by a biometric sales coaching tool and recognition, etc. But we don't have a course that is directly dedicated to cold calling. But this is the thing that most students and also most grown-ups and graduates are most afraid of, right? So what I tell the students is, when you are a master in cold calling, then you can master anything in sales. Because then you know how to do the customer need analysis and how to get in touch with a person and to be in a conversation, not only in selling, but let the customer buy and be on a consultative selling base, not only on a transactional selling. So for most of the students, it's difficult to even to try out the transactional selling. We can see this when we do the video simulation, simulation selling to a customer, and they are now the didactics shows them that they can choose a customer, they can choose their own product or company, so this makes it easier for them. but still they have some, how do you say, they are a bit afraid or don't like to touch the topic. So the more simulations we do, the more easy going they become. And they appreciate the feedback, of course, so they get more confident. I think the students understand the context best when they pass 7 courses. They all are linked to sales in a different aspect. And the last one that I teach too is key account management. And I know you teach it too, Deva, as well. So there they understand why is it so relevant to be strong in the consultative selling and in this being a sparring partner and being on the same level like your customer, not only focusing on the transactional selling. So then it's like a round circle or
absolutely
that closes. Yeah. So this is what I can tell you from my perspective. And to come back to the other question about how easy is it to implement these different tools, there is a challenge, and I'm really honest with you. More than 70% of our teaching staff or lecturers are external lecturers. So they are managers, they are in the working field, they're business practitioners. And getting in people who are experts in digital sales and in online sales performance measurement, etc. It's very challenging to get them into teaching because they are quite busy. Are working internationally, so they are on international projects, traveling the world all day long, and so I'm often challenged by recruiting new people for this. And of course, we want to have the best ones and from known companies, to teach this. So this is a challenge, and I don't think it's only a challenge in Austria.
I think I think at this point in time, that's all the time we have for right now, because I think what you're saying is what is going to be where companies are going to be more successful in the future is this is my opinion, unless there's a group of academics coming together with each different expertises, with each different contacts that you have in industry, and coming up with new modes of teaching through technologies like these, and we share content across borders to bring cutting edge. Because at the end of the day, sure, this is my opinion, of course, there are going to be country specific things. But if you take a look at sales measurement, if I say I'm going to go by activities, I'm going to be measuring the sales activities of what they're doing. The activities are not going to be that different between Finland or Canada or France or Greece. Sure, the number of visits I make in a day might be much more easier in a smaller country, like in Belgium or Austria. Whereas if I go to Finland, where the people are spread apart, or Canada, where we might have different time zones, that is going to vary. But I really think that moving forward, especially given the rapid pace at which everything is changing, not only the business world, but the technologies that have access to it. But we should also look at it from an open mind where we say, well, this means that we should also be able to share expertises through these new technologies. And if some of you have experience, for example, I know that for Finland, they're doing a lot of great stuff with AI. I know Robbins, and I've actually taken a look at what Pia is doing there, and it's really, really cool of looking at AI. I know that Maria is looking at training executives and MBA students in that. So each of us have our own expertise. And Marina, you're working a lot with different kind of firms that if we can say, you know what, I'm going to develop specific content on this, and I'm going to share this with the people in different regions, and each of us could pick it up and then bring it into the classroom, because our students don't care if it comes from you or from others. If they can understand English, assuming that's going to be the language, then this is something that we could actually bring into the classroom as well. And indeed, and I think that's how the future is. But again, I really do hope that we can have one more of this conversation where we can dig deeper into salesmen, because we have not talked about the needs of the business market. We only talked about the needs of young students, but I would really like to pick all of your brains on what kind of requests, what kind of needs do you see actually for development of sales professionals within companies? Not all of them have the kind of the advantage of recruiting new people. A lot of them have to do with the people that they already have. And I would really like to pick your brains on what are you seeing in terms of how companies are trying to kind of develop their own sales talent and sales management talent. And maybe that's something that we can have as the next session. And I would really like to pick your brains on that. But at this time, I would really like to thank all of you. I know that you're in different time zones, making time to talk to me. But I hope that we can have one more of these conversations as well.
I would love to.
Yes,
Yes.
me too.
Thank you all. And again, it was wonderful that all
Absolutely.
it's great that all of you are training the future minds of tomorrow. And I look forward to our next conversation.